5 breakthrough solutions to shrink your belly fat and put an end to the tiredness, the aches and the pains which you mistakenly believe are a normal part of your 20s receding further and further into the rearview mirror. If a witch doctor clicked their fingers and suddenly I was 2 stone heavier, to burn that belly fat for good, here's the exact things I'd focus on fixing. Now, this is both the fastest way as well as the most sustainable, so all the belly fat you're going to burn stays burnt. Picture waking up in the morning, rolling out of bed and catching sight of your reflection. But instead of the usual sigh of, oh, is this really what I look like? You pause. You flex a bit, only for a second because it would be embarrassing if your partner caught you doing this. You take a second to appreciate how your love handles have shrunk. Your arms are looking more toned and strong and your chest is well on the way from man boobs to pecs. And all this without totally destroying your social life or turning you into a big gym-obsessed fitness dork. I know this sounds like a lot, and perhaps you're even rolling your eyes and thinking, I haven't got the time, the motivation, or the willpower to make all this happen. It sounds impossible, but it's not. I've been coaching guys to burn belly fat since 2020. I've narrowed down the 5 common areas these guys focus on to burn their belly fat and stop knees and shoulders creaking and aching. Plus, I've created a free cheat sheet on how to reprogram ChatGPT into being your very own expert personal trainer. You can grab that for free today via the link below, so feel free to do this now. Otherwise, let's get into the guide. So, coming in at number 1 is, oh, I know this one. It's got to be more protein, isn't it? Got to eat more protein because more protein is more better, right? Hey, I told you it's okay for you to sit quietly, but you can't be interrupting, okay? Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to protein, but it's nowhere near as important as shredded fitness people in their 20s like to pretend it is. The biggest fix for, grown-ups like us is around what you do when you get home from work. Imagine if sleep didn't exist. What would the conversation about inventing it go like? You know of all these saber-toothed tigers about? Yeah, and like all the mammoths and the bears and all the other tribes that are trying to kill us and like take our women and stuff. Yeah. Well, how about in the night when we're like extra vulnerable because it's dark and we can't see well? Should we just go totally unconscious? Unconscious? For how long? Oh, ages, like all night. I'm talking about let's be unconscious for like 30% of our lifetime. Ridiculous. So the fact that we do spend about 30% of our lives asleep, to me, means that sleep is a pretty big deal. But I used to think that sleep was a thing that I could squeeze when I was short on time. Like if I had to get up early and I'd ended up staying up late for some reason. I knew I wouldn't be 100% the next day, but I'd be all right. I could get through the day with a bit of coffee, But whenever I did this, I'd noticed that I'd always be hungrier the next day. I'd always be grouchier and less like up for doing the things that I know make me feel good, like going for a walk or doing a bit of exercise or something. But what I've found is that turning my phone to grayscale mode has made using it so much less interesting, which stops me scrolling so much. And according to my screen time tracker, saves me about an hour and a half of phone time per day. Plus I picked up this old Kindle for like 15 quid on eBay. So it's not like I'm sitting around bored in the evenings, and starting to read that has been cool and like relaxing, with a bonus effect of Frankie saying that I'm way more fun to be around. So the end result is I'm sleeping more, which means I'm feeling way less hungry. I'm not feeling so grouchy. So it's easier to do the self-care things that I know I should, but just kind of don't get around to doing when I'm feeling knackered. I know in the UK, being busy and tired and like overstretched is this big badge of honour. But is it helpful feeling like that all the time? Or is it making life harder for hardly any good reason? I guess now I feel like I'm living life on easy mode compared to when I was sleep deprived. Anyway, on to fix number 2. What about now? It's got to be protein now, hasn't it? Because everyone's always talking about protein on the internet, so that's got to mean it's important, right? Actually, we'll get to protein in the next segment. Yeah, well, if it's not protein, it's got to be running then, innit? Sort of. Running sucks for burning belly fat. Now, I could talk about how running is bad for your knees if you're a bigger guy. And I could talk about how I live in Manchester and that the shocking weather is a big roadblock stopping me getting outdoors for a jog, especially now summer's over. But I'm not going to talk about either of these. Instead, I'm going to do some sums.
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.
Now, because I don't have a single gram of willpower in my whole entire body, I don't really have any snacks in the house because I know I'd end up eating them all. But Frankie's mum gave us these as a thank you for cat sitting the other day. So these we'll have to do for today's example. So the bag is 1,328 calories, which according to a quick Google search would take me like 2 or 2.5 hours of running to burn off. Now, I don't know about you, but if I tried to run for over 2 hours, my legs would literally fall off. I'm pretty sure I'd snap at least one of my Achilles tendons, and if nothing else, I'd be hobbling around for days and days on very achy legs. So when people talk about you can't outwork a bad diet, this is what they mean. The exchange rate between chocolate and exercise is just so bad that it's basically not worth doing. When Josh got his head around this exchange rate and understood that he couldn't really pay back the bad food with exercise like he'd used to think, and that where possible, not eating shit in the first place is miles easier than eating it and then trying to burn it off. Once he knew this, he found it so much easier to say no to the office snacks because he wasn't in denial about what it would then take to get rid of the mistake. But in terms of saying no to snacks, there is one way running does help actually. If you're struggling with peer pressure in the office to eat snacks and cakes, just tell everyone you've signed up for a marathon. Suddenly, people kind of get why you're not able to eat junk like usual. And if you're vague enough about the details of this fake marathon, you'll never actually get put upon to actually do it. So there's a tip here. So the third thing to be aware of when burning belly fat is supplements. Don't you dare say anything. So you've got stuff like protein powder and creatine and that. And I just don't think they're relevant at all for starting to burn belly fat. For example, Matt did this before he ever bought a single tub of protein. Because when you're a bigger guy, starting out burning belly fat, the most important thing you can do is to eat less. And I hear from guys all the time about how they've been eating more protein, but they're not getting any leaner, and they can't figure out why. Which happens because any calorie deficit they've created is being undermined and short-circuited by adding the extra protein. So rather than adding extra stuff to what you're eating as the first step of your diet, all of these guys accepted that a bit of hunger is a totally normal part of burning belly fat, and actually a great sign that what you're doing is working. And cutting down like 20% of your portion size goes great for stepping off the first bits of belly fat. And yeah, look, the closer you get to this end of the spectrum, the more important protein becomes. Because these guys need a lot of protein to support all of the muscle mass that they're carrying. I just think fitness people forget that not everyone needs as much protein as they like to promote. So if you, respectfully, don't have a lot of muscle, how much protein do you really need? Now, you might be wondering where exercise fits into this little list. Oh yeah, you've got to go to the gym. Here we have it in solution number 4. Now, in purely burning belly fat terms, when you look at these guys who don't go to the gym, but also aren't fat, what does that tell us about how essential the gym is to burning belly fat? But I do think if you want to have something to show underneath that belly fat you're burning, then yeah, getting yourself to the gym is going to help you look more toned as you get lighter, rather than just ending up like a skinny rake. So what is the best thing to do in the gym? Oh, that is easy. It is my Optimal Alpha Male Premium Platinum package, of course. If you spend any time in gyms, you'll notice that everyone is doing different stuff. And it can be a bit like overwhelming, not knowing where to start or what's best. Because obviously some things work better than others, and you don't want to be wasting your time, do you? If you're anything like me, here's what I do. I always look up the best, but what I really want more than anything is to avoid being the worst. I don't need to be the world's number one. I just want to know for certain that I don't look stupid. Now, perhaps you're sat there thinking I'm a big insecure mess for thinking this, in which case, fair enough. But if you're kind of nodding along and you want to try a bit harder in the gym, but the idea of having some muscle-bound personal trainer yell at you about 1 more rep makes your skin crawl, then here's what I've done for you. So I spent years and years in gyms trying out all sorts of different workouts and stuff. First on myself and then on the lads since I've been doing this for a job. And for all that time I've spent and books I've read, you can now skip the queue on investing all that time like I did. ChatGPT does a sick job of knocking out really good workout plans, especially if you give it the right prompts. Otherwise you might end up with a plan that's designed more for an Olympic gymnast than a 50-year-old father of two. So instead of me prattle on with all the different fun and effective exercise variations you could try, I'm going to risk putting myself completely out of a job by demystifying the truth about exercise, by showing you how to reprogram ChatGPT in the fastest known way to make sure all your workouts are never a waste of time and always push you just a little bit harder each time. I've created a free copy and paste template which is legit PT improved. It's brilliant, and you can now use AI to write and adjust all your own personalised, tailored workouts using these prompts. It just eliminates the threat of being a 0 out of 10 in the gym. You're not going to look stupid. Nobody is going to throw you the side eye thinking, what is he doing here? So yeah, you can grab this free guide today by hitting the link in my bio now. What are you giving away all these secrets for? You'll put me out of business. How will I pay for all my new Gymshark gear? If all you're doing is telling people that bench press is good for their chests and standing there counting to 10 for them, then you deserve to be out of business. So there's one thing I haven't touched on yet, which leads us to the 5th point. Oh, is it optimization? You've got to like make everything like optimal and totally the best and absolutely perfected? Sort of. So when I looked like this, I would regularly tell myself I had about 2, maybe 3 kilos to lose, and I'd be an absolute shredded to the bone weapon. The actual difference between these photos is over 2 stone, which means that I was fatter than I had originally thought. So, at the risk of talking out of both sides of my face, I talked at the opening about all of these being the fastest way to burn belly fat, and fast is kind of relative. So, I'm not going to patronise you by talking nonsense like burn a stone a week with just 30 seconds of effort per day. We've all seen these overhyped promises and know they're barely more than a scam. The pace I'm talking about is between about 4 and 6 kilos per month. So you can tell from that little picture from me that possibly this will take you longer than a few weeks, which is why most diets fizzle out. Guys underestimate how long it'll take and just get tired and fed up with the effort, which is why patience and fun are vastly underestimated aspects of burning belly fat. Whenever I used to just grit my teeth and go for the most hardcore and cool sounding fat loss plan I could think of, I always only lasted about a week or 2 before something would come up. Maybe a bad day at work or a date night out for dinner. At which point I'd tell myself, oh, I'm not lazy, I'm not greedy, I'm fine. It's just, I'll enjoy the rest of the day and then I'll restart and I'll go again tomorrow. But because the fitness plan was so hard to begin with, I'd find myself not starting again the next day. And almost without even realising it, I'd bounced off another fat loss attempt. So I fixed this by leaving a bit of space for the whole attempt to not be some big miserable slog. For example, Tom did this whilst having bacon and eggs every day. Not because there's some secretive magic fat burning breakfast, but because he likes them. And since he knew he wouldn't be eating as much food during the day as he was used to, he didn't want to also give up all the foods he did enjoy, with the result of eating like this being the whole diet felt easy for him, so he could stick with it and finally burn off the belly fat he'd been carrying around since uni. Plus, he's kept it off because he hasn't felt like he's been massively restricted and now deserves a big delicious treat after all of his diet hard work. Remember, belly fat is the last thing to go. I know it'd be cool if we could specifically burn it away by doing a bunch of sit-ups or whatever, but unfortunately, that's not how bodies work. Right, so there we have it. The top 5 areas to focus on to burn your belly fat as fast as possible. Don't forget to grab my free ChatGPT copy and paste prompt template today via the link below in the description. I've been Ian Dowie, the online PT, not the old palace manager. You can find me on Instagram, again via the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section and I'll catch you on the next one.